Hey there, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and blog. Today I don't actually have a finished project for you, but I do have a medium I want to show you. And so we're going to jump right into it. I pulled out my stamp platform and that Simmons Says stamp set called More Spring Flowers. And I am going to emboss that on that black cardstock. So I pulled out, what you saw there was my embossing buddy, and it puts out like a little white powder to keep the embossing powder from sticking to areas I don't want it to stick to. So I've grabbed a Versamark ink, which is a sticky ink that is used for embossing and for a watermark effect. So I've stamped it down, and that cardstock isn't anything real special. It's from my stash, but it is a little bit textured. It's not watercolor paper, it's regular cardstock, and I'm just going to stamp it down more than once just to make sure I have a good impression. And then I will pull it off my stamp platform, and I'm going to grab a coffee filter and some Simmons Says Stamp Ultrafine Gold embossing powder, and I'm going to pour it over the image that you really can't see, but you will here in a second. So I'll tap off the excess embossing powder, and you're left with a really pretty rose look there. And I'll grab my heat gun, and I'm going to heat that image up, which is what you would do with the embossing powder. And you'll notice that at first it's a matte finish, but once the heat gets going on that image, it will melt the embossing powder and give it a shiny look. I just love any of those embossing powders on top of a black background like that, especially gold, silver, and white. And you don't want to heat it up too much past that. So here I'm going to try and make some masks because I'm going to, which is not the focus of this this video, but I'm going to make some masks. And if I had been thinking, I would have just stamped it once, picked up all those post-it notes, and then cut out just one time holding all those, because it would have been a lot faster, which I ended up figuring out with the rest of my images, some other flowers and some leaves that I had done. But not here. I stamped and I cut out each of those 3 flowers. And so I lost some footage here, but that Tombow Mono Multi that I had showed you there, I ended up using on the back of those images, those rose images, and I made them sticky back. So it can be permanent if stuck down right away, but if you let it dry, then it's repositionable, as you can see here. So I had used the different masks and stamped over, and when I used the paintbrush a little bit earlier, I was wiping away some of the excess powder. Sorry I lost so much footage, but you can see that it looks like a pretty neat scene that I've made there. And I'm going to go ahead and throw away all those masks. Normally I would reuse them, but between using powder and other things, they just weren't so sticky anymore. Now this is the focus of the video. This pan of watercolors here, which is called a Fine Tec Pearlescent Watercolor palette, and there are 12 different colors there that you see. It's actually manufactured in Germany, and this set includes the 12 colors: amethyst, sapphire blue, Caribbean green, blue silver, deep black, mystic color, pearl silver, pearl gold, crystal gold, orange copper, red, and purple. And to activate them, like you saw there, I had a water bottle. You just spritz some water in there a couple times on each one that you want to use, and then you kind of mix it around with your paintbrush, which the paintbrush I'm using is the Simply Simmons paintbrush. And once you mix it around, it activates the mica and the watercolor, and you're ready to go. So I'm just painting down there. I'm not doing anything real special, but I'm just painting down. Anyway, back to these colors. They can be applied with a brush. They can be used, the brush can be used to load the paint onto a dip pen nib for calligraphy as well. I've seen people use it that way. And it comes in that metal tin box with a divided mixing areas in the lid so that you can mix those colors if you'd like. And the neat thing is those color pans are replaceable. So if you use one up, you might find that you, like with any medium, you have a color that you specifically like a little bit better than others, you can replace just the pan. So like I said, here I am just coloring with those. I'm not doing any shading because honestly, those colors just stand out so well that there isn't really any need. But I am making little droplets on the background. In between each color, I take each one of those colors, spritz some water, pick up the color, and I make little droplets of that color on the background because I love the way that looks. Now because these are opaque and they're highly pigmented, if I go over the top of those embossed areas, that color can cover it up. So as I did earlier, I kind of spritzed a little bit of water and kind of picked up some of the color so it didn't completely cover that up. That first rose used the color red, and this second one is using orange copper. And I'm not going to show you all of the coloring because, like I said, I'm not doing anything special. I'm just basically laying down the color and letting the color do its thing. And the more I put down, the more you're going to see. Now I'm using purple on the third rose. Nothing special. Just letting each of those colors pop on their own. And I'm going to move on to blue for the other 3 different flowers. I'm using the blue silver to start, and I actually will try to do a little bit of shading with the blue silver and the sapphire blue at the bottom on each of these flowers. That blue silver seems to be one of my favorite colors. I use it a lot. It's good for splatters, good for painting, good for all of that. And I actually really like how different these watercolors look on white paper, even as compared to the black paper, but my favorite is actually the black. And now I'm moving on to that Caribbean green, and I'm going to paint all the leaves with that. Now I put so much color down on that first leaf that I'm actually going back to that first leaf and picking up color to color the rest of it. I don't know what it is, but I seem to be really heavy-handed every time I dip my my brush into those, because I do it here too. And I'm just doing it at the bottom of those leaves because I'm going to come back in with some crystal gold to do the tops of the leaves. I'm using some of the Caribbean green on the background there, and I even use my finger to kind of splotch it out, just to add a little bit of definition to the background. But you can start to see those splatters are really coming through. And as they dry, it seems like they get more intense. Now I'll move on to that crystal gold and just do the tops of the leaves. And as you can see, once again, heavy-handed with that gold. It's too much gold. But I end up fixing it by coming back in with a little bit more Caribbean green here in the end. And so that's all I'm going to do, and I'll splatter that as well. But that's it. How shiny and pretty. If you have any questions about these, just leave them in the comments below. I would love it if you liked and subscribed. Yeah, that way you're up to date on what's new with me. So thanks for stopping by.